What's up, everyone? I'm Jojo, and I'm a good grown-up man. I'm coming at you now with another reaction video, and this time I want to talk about one Mr. Josh Scott from JHS pedals. Now, Josh Scott's a guy. He owns a pedal company, and I don't know what it is, but he's like one of the most controversial guys in the pedal building world. And I don't know why, because there's so many boutique pedal makers out there. I could throw a rock in my yard and it'll probably hit a boutique pedal builder. But for some reason, Josh Scott always comes up in forums as having overpriced pedals, or he's ripping people off, or he's some kind of fraud or the unscrupulous businessman. I don't know, because he does well. He's very successful in his market and at his level. So it's bizarre, because for everyone who said he's a crook, his pedals stink, he's no good, about like 100 or 1,000 people love him and his pedals. I've been seeing this less and less lately since like the JHS pedals YouTube channel launched and he really put his face out there. So I don't know, maybe he humanized himself and the haters kind of went away. Maybe he still has haters. I don't know. But the question always comes up, especially with these boutique pedal makers, is like the price. The price. I always hear about the price. Like, I get it, bro. I could go and buy a Super Buzz for $50 from Behringer. Why am I going to pay $179 for your Super Fuzz? Oh, I'm sorry. I could pay $25 for the Behringer Super Fuzz, and it's got 4.5 stars, and everyone loves it. So I don't know. You also very get what you pay for. I'm gonna say one of them is more quality than the other. But the question was asked: are pedal companies ripping us off? Now you got Josh Scott here saying, I don't know, are we? He decided to react to this guy, and I don't know this guy. I should know his name. Does he even say his name? John. His name is John. I don't super like how he didn't link back to the video. Anyway, some guy named John I never heard of. I think he's a YouTuber. I think he's a guitarist. And this video dropped a little while ago. I watched it back then, and I've been thinking about it ever since. I figured, why not react to Josh's reaction? Or maybe play referee, or maybe meet somewhere in the middle. So let's just cut to the chase and get started with the video.
Hey everyone, it's Josh here, and someone sent me a very interesting video. It was posted about 5 days ago by John Nathan Cordy, who's a YouTuber. I've actually watched several of his videos over the years.
I have not watched any, so I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what his expertise is, and I know nothing about him.
Very talented player, but this video is interesting. The title is essentially, are pedal makers, pedal companies ripping us off?
So here's what I'm going to say before we start anything. And yes, I've watched the video before, but I forgot most of it because it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I have the memory of a goldfish, so I don't remember anything about the video. But I'm going to say no, especially because number one, pedals are a luxury item. They're not a necessity. You don't need to buy them. You can go buy a multi-effects pedal. You could go buy an HX Stomp for the cost of 5 decently priced pedals, maybe even 4 if you get more expensive ones. And then you have literally like 200 pedals, like 300 amps, something ridiculous. You don't have to build your board off of JHS pedals. You don't have to build your board off of Wampler pedals. You don't have to build your board off of Strymon pedals. I don't know. Number 2, anything is worth what people are willing to pay for it, especially luxury items. Josh is a small builder. A lot of these pedal companies are small builders. They may seem bigger than they are. Their presence may seem bigger than they are, but a lot of times they're like one-man operation, a couple-man operation. The prices may seem like it's a lot, but I can't imagine the volume is truly that much, and the return on investment per unit, I can't imagine is that much. I know in just general sales, retail sales, you aim to get like 20% profit off of what you're selling the pedal for. So that's like any kind of markup that the middleman does, like the actual retailer, any kind of material that you know to build the pedal, any kind of labor that goes to get it. So after that, the company should take home 20%. So if you have $179 pedal, I'm gonna do some math here right off the bat, so that company is making $35. off of that $179 pedal. I don't know what their margins are. Maybe it's more than that, maybe it's less. But as a general retail rule of thumb, you know, $35 per pedal. So let's say you sell 10,000 pedals at that price. So that's $350,000. Sounds like a lot, but you got to pay your people. You got to keep the lights on. There's costs to running business. And I'm sure his advertising budget is pretty large. The guy's all over YouTube and whatever. At this moment, I'm team Josh, and this guy just seems like, not hearing a word he said, seems like he doesn't have a clue. I don't know if that's true. We'll find out.
And then it has at JHS Pedals, the Ross situation is interesting, ... something like that. I watched a bit of it, and it's just full of misinformation because of some very general observations that are misguided.
So what I'm seeing is he's trying really hard to not sound defensive. And I don't super blame him because this is his company's livelihood. And that's not any kind of indication of guilt or anything like that at all. But he, like, this is bugging him more that he's trying to let on, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Companies really don't go on live streams like I did during the Ross liquidation and tell you what things cost.
That's true. So these are the numbers are for him. So like we have no idea if they're right or not, but that's it. Transparency is cool, especially with companies, because companies tend to not want to look bad. So for him to go on and do that whole Ross spiel, if you didn't watch the video, he basically launched a pedal line of Ross pedals, and they sold out really well in the beginning, and then they just completely lost interest, and he had to cancel the whole line. And he came on and he's just kind of like, yeah, what went wrong? What went wrong? This is what went wrong. And what could we do better? And why did it fail? So it's a cool, interesting video and refreshing.
I've heard these kind of things for 15 years. This pedal could be built at home for this much. Why are they charging this much?
So I've built a few pedals, not professionally, amateur wise. You can build most pedals for like $50. The components are super cheap. The stuff that gets you is like the switches, the case, pots, and the jacks. But like as far as and probably the breadboard, but I mean, you're talking like $10 here, $10 there, $5 here, $1 or $2 like that. That's like expensive for pedal parts. So you could probably make most pedals like anywhere between $40 and $60, but this is not accounting for the labor. You understand? Labor is really expensive. I would say it takes me like 3-4 hours to make a simple pedal, and that's being generous. And that's, I mean, maybe these guys are faster than me. They're probably all faster than me. All of his builders are probably faster than me. I do soldering for fun on the side, so I'm not gonna be anywhere near as fast as them. So let's say they can do it in half the time. So if I'm being generous, I can build a pedal in 4 hours. They're building it into, if he's paying them a decent wage, let's say he's giving them like $20 an hour. So now you're adding $40 on top of that. So now you're at like 90, right? And I mean, I don't know, maybe it takes longer than that. Maybe he pays them a little bit better than that. Labor's expensive, man. And if you build pedals in America, that price is gonna just balloon. And there's a lot more that goes into this stuff than just the cost of raw materials. Like, you don't buy the materials, throw them on the desk, and then they assemble themselves. Like, it's wild to think that's the only cost that goes into producing something. Manufacturing is just the cost of more raw material.
I think it's time that I sit here and hopefully bring some sort of a beginning to an end to customers thinking that American pedal companies are getting rich and loaded and taking advantage of you. I've yet to meet a single pedal builder who's rubbing their hands together like Scrooge McDuck, taking your money and laughing. It's just not the case.
So he's a little bit on right now, and I'm not saying he's not being genuine, but if I watch him in the JHS live show versus like something like this, he's a little bit on. But I mean, he's talking to camera, he's making a video. I understand why. It's probably still coming from a genuine place, but he's a little bit on.
Recently, JHS has decided to stop making the Ross pedals because essentially they sold quite a few early on, and then they've sold like 300 of the pedals, like in total. I wanted to kind of ask in this video, what does this tell us about how much they're charging for these pedals? Because there were some numbers that were thrown out in this video that kind of made me think, Well, something here doesn't really add up.
Yeah, again, what you're forgetting about labor, like the cost of the, they have a building. I gotta pay healthcare for all these people. The manufacturer can't eat all these costs. Like, they can't. They have to make a profit. If they don't make a profit, what's the point of them being in business?
This is going to be interesting. This is just a well-meaning person who saw me clearing out pedals at a cost and is assuming we should be able to do that on everything. And it's interesting to them, so we'll see where this goes.
Again, if you sold pedals at cost of materials, you would lose money. Like, cost including labor. No one's in business to break even. Like, they have to make a profit. They can only pay their employees if they make a profit. Josh can only feed his family if they make a profit. Like, that's why you go into business. You don't go into business to break even. You're not a charity.
Can you use
This is
the
an
promo
advertisement
code
for his
JNC40 to get 40%?
courses.
Everyone's got a course. Everyone's got a course. I hope I never eat these words, but if I ever make a course, please just tell me you've changed. You've changed. You're a sellout.
So he's demoing my pedal for free. Thanks, man. How long is this? Oh my god, that's a long demo. We're gonna skip ahead.
It's good guitarist, but yeah, I'm with you, Josh. Let's skip. Me and Josh, we're on the same page.
I'm going to take apart my JHS Crimson, which I'm using in the intro there, and just kind of have a look at how many parts are in these pedals.
If you take your pedal apart, you voided warranty because we have to assume you don't know how to take a pedal apart. I'm already sweating. Here we go.
That's fair. Like, who knows what you did to it too when you took it apart?
We getting ripped off by these pedal manufacturers, or are there other costs that go into making these things that we as just normal people that maybe don't know?
I'm not an expert or a pedal builder or anything like that. I'm not an expert.
So you don't have to be an expert to speak on something and have an opinion, but if you're not, your questions may not be intelligent and your opinion may not be super valid or worthwhile.
Well, he said all of the Ross pedals, they can build them for like $76. To me, seems strange because surely all of those circuits require different parts.
Yeah, this is a line of pedals, and we don't think about it so systematically. Every pedal has a different cost to make. Fact. But we don't price every pedal individually all the time. Where do we strike the average for a good price on these pedals so that one can make a little more money than the one that doesn't make enough?
So that's interesting. Non-expert. Not a manufacturer, never done these kind of things, but I never thought of it that way. It doesn't sound like they're losing money on their more expensive pedals, but they're making less of a profit on their more expensive pedals and more of a profit. Wait, what? Sounds like they're making less of a profit on their more expensive pedals and more of a profit. No, hang on. Sounds like they're making less of a profit on their more expensive pedals and more of a profit on their less expensive pedals. Thank you. I did it, everyone. So that's interesting. And I don't know any better, but this sounds like an industry practice. I doubt Josh alone does this. And it makes sense, I think. I would think too, if your more expensive pedals are making less of a profit, I would think you would yank those faster, like if the sales start to lag behind because they're being essentially carried by the cheaper pedals. And you do see price variation. Let's go find out. All their Legends of Fuzz are $179. All of their 3 series are $99. All of them. So you got your Tube Screamer costing as much as your Chorus, which the Chorus is gonna be more expensive. Generally, any fuzz is gonna be, or any distortion pedal is gonna be significantly cheaper than any modulation effect, especially reverbs, because you start throwing more bigger like integrated circuits in there, and those aren't always cheap. But then again, the distortion pedals, those can have diodes, and those diodes aren't always cheap. So, but just in general, the modulation stuff is going to be cheaper than the distortion stuff. Morning Glory's 200. The Morning Glory's 200 seems like a lot.
You can get these kind of DIY parts kits for like 35, 40 quid, made in the UK.
And then who's putting them together? Who's marketing them? Who's selling them? Who's shipping them out? Can you add all those costs in?
It's hard watching someone disassemble.
I think it was in some ways really interesting to see Josh, who
just manhandling his pedal.
Because they were being sold for like $189. And if you do the math on that, if they made 8,000 of them, it'd be like a 1.5 million sort of...
29 times 8,000. 1.5 million. Now, if you're using the general retail number, now we'll times that by 30%. So that's $453,600. Again, I don't think that's all going to Josh. I think he's got to pay the bills, right? He's got to pay the rent or the mortgage on the building. He's got to pay electricity. He's got to pay healthcare. Who knows what else? There's so many taxes. There's so many costs in business that like you and I don't know about. Uncle Sam really loves to screw over small business owners, and I'm sure Josh is no exception.
Most all Ross pedals I had sold to dealers for about $95 to $125.
Okay, so so there's something that I didn't even think of, which isn't saying much because I don't know anything about retail. I didn't even think about the middleman, right? So now with that number, okay, 8,000 times $95. So he sold to the retailers for $95. So he's got $760,000. Now 30% of that, $228,000. I don't know how much of that like he personally keeps. He's the CEO and whatever, but I don't think he sees anywhere near this amount.
90% of my stuff is business to business. So you're forgetting that. We didn't make 1.5 million.
So what he's saying is if you buy his pedal from Sweetwater, he's making $95 from that pedal. If you buy it from him, he gets the entire 180, 170, whatever that is. So like, you know, his website. So that direct sales versus business to business sales. So then, I mean, again, not a business guy, but I would imagine the free advertising you get having your pedals on a bigger platform than your website, you know, and the guaranteed sales and the volume sales, I think, are why you would do that. Let's see what he says.
But I've been selling Ross the whole time for 110. So I made $440,000 to my 500 plus dealer sales. Then I had to buy back 1,000 at 1-for-1 value. We sold them for 79. That's $320,000. So that math, 440 to my dealers, 320 to you on Friday night at midnight. That's 8,000 pedals, $760,000.
I think that's what I said, right? $760,000.
This video has told the public I made double what I made. I sold half the amount of money that this video has stated that I sold.
I don't know why you're selling money.
Waka waka.
Whatever.
I think building in quite a lot of profit even at the cost, unless it's way more expensive for these companies to build pedals than we know. There are around 35 employees was what I found
Closer to
online
40.
working it.
Oh man, so 40. I don't know how much you pay a pedal builder. Let's say he's pretty generous and he gives his people 60K. 60K. All right. I have no idea, but let's say 60K average for those 40 people. Okay. I don't know if that's accurate at all, but times 40. All right. So that means his payroll for the year is $2.4 million. So like selling those pedals didn't even come close to covering his payroll for the year. And I'm sure there was a ton of work into that. And this doesn't even count like all the project management stuff where designing the cases, sourcing materials, buying materials, getting materials, this all takes time and money and effort, and that's going to be baked into the price. Again, you don't just produce a pedal. Like, there's R&D, there's research, there's a ton that goes into this. And you can buy a pedal kit online, sure, but you didn't do any of that R&D. You didn't do any of that project management. You didn't do any of that QA. You didn't do anything. You bought a kit and soldered it together. You didn't even pick out the parts. Like, huge difference. Again, you can't just say raw materials. That's insane.
I think a lot of the boards themselves are surface mounted, right? So wave soldered.
Surface mounting is not wave soldering. This stuff gets repeated. It's hard. It's hard to keep a straight narrative.
Everyone knows everything. Everyone knows everything. Everyone's an expert. I feel for you, man. I feel for you.
It's just assembly that they're more or less doing, right? There's not huge amounts of cost involved in actually soldering these boards.
He's saying we must be adding in tons of other costs, and that there's not a lot of cost involved in the circuit boards.
Yeah, who designed these pedals? Like, they don't design themselves. They don't order themselves.
$2.6 million is insane. That's how much I spent just on PCBs. And these are in America. I'm not having my PCBs made in China.
That's cool. I didn't even know you could. I didn't even know you could really do that anymore. I might have to go buy a JHS pedal when this is all done.
This is the argument. I could build this at home. You could not build a Ross pedal for less than $55. There's no way. Not at the quality I've done.
And I believe that, because I'm actually surprised. It seems kind of low, because the pedals I've built are super cheap, and from like Indonesia. I've bought some from somewhere in mid Eastern Europe. And I mean, you're talking like 10, 15, 20 bucks a board there. And I don't know what a quality circuit board is. I guess like the pads, the soldering pads are good, and they're not going to burn out super quick, and quality, maybe more materials. So, there's probably a quality component there.
There are 2 PCBs in that circuit, and there's soft touch bypass that's added to it.
Yeah, so it's $55 is low. Yeah, he must be getting a crazy volume discount, and the case is like a custom case. So I imagine that would be a big part of it. I mean, on my podunk pedals, like $10-15 for just the case, but those are like really standard, like we've all seen this shape or this shape, right? I just happen to have those laying there. I wasn't planning that, but those are just average run of the mill. You could buy them anywhere. These are custom.
This is all USA made. There's a custom enclosure. There's custom color matched powder, custom rigid boxes. I went back and replicated the vintage box that I love so much. This is not cheap. Then you have the ephemera booklet, then knobs, foot switches, and the little cap that goes on the switch. This is what's missing from this.
Yeah, knobs, surprisingly. Knobs surprisingly are kind of expensive in the grand, relatively in proportion to the entire bill of materials. Kind of expensive, and they add up. If you have to buy, he sold 8,000 pedals. How many knobs are on there? 2. So that's 16,000 knobs. You got 3. That's 24,000 knobs at 50 cents a piece. I mean, or even like $1 a piece, because I think they're somewhat special. Yeah, that adds up.
Every JHS pedal made cost about, on an average, $20 in payroll. My payroll is enormous. Do the math on 40-ish employees' living wages over 12 months.
Okay, so he said $20, $55 in parts, $20 for payroll. Okay, interesting. These guys are probably cranking these out. They're professionals. I'm not a professional. It probably takes me way longer. I think that's like an hour, right? I mean, does Missouri? So I don't know what he means by living wage, or whatever word he used. I mean, if he's just doing minimum wage, maybe it's like 2 hours. If he's doing like $20 an hour for a living wage, don't know what that means, then it's probably like an hour hands-on per pedal. And I would think that makes sense because, you know, obviously have to crank these out pretty fast to meet up with whatever demand they have. So if you're spending an hour a pedal, 8,000 pedals. So 8,000 man hours in perspective, that's 333 straight days of working for one person. So almost a year's worth of work there just to get these pedals out. Now let's see, divide that by 40. I doubt everyone's working on these, but 8 hours a person. 8 days a person. Sorry, 8 days a person. 200 hours a person. So if they had all hands on deck to do these Ross pedals, that's 200 hours a person. Again, like, think about this. Think about these things. You can't just think about raw materials.
Then there's a royalty on Ross. Not one person thinks about this. I don't own Ross.
Ooh, I didn't think of it.
I could have just made these, but I brought the family in and I'm paying a royalty.
What does he mean by I could have just made these? There's got to be a trademark, no? Is there no copyright? I don't know if you can get away with that. I don't know what he means by that.
Rent, insurance, machinery, utilities, computers, software, property tax, repairs, transactional fees, legal fees, accounting fees, R&D.
Legal fees ain't cheap. So the only reason I have any kind of perspective on this at all is I've never owned a business. Well, that's not true. I had a cleaning company when I was like 19. I never cleaned the house with this company and I never had a single client and it fizzled out really quick. And I had to pay taxes on my non-business. But my wife has a crochet business. I do her taxes every year. Just simple DBA, doing business as. Boy, oh boy, is it expensive to run a business. Let me just put it this way, okay? It's a small business, so she probably makes like $10,000 a year. When it's all said and done, we probably walk away with like $3,000. Net profit after taxes and everything. It's tough. You got to spend money to make money.
Mold alone to make these enclosures was $15,000 for the mold.
Custom mold, right? Custom mold. He had to make it himself. Again, where's your custom mold? When you buy a pedal parts kit, you're the end user, right? It's totally different than trying to have a business building pedals. It just is.
The opportunity, the attempt, the try. It cost me. That's a cost of doing business.
Good for Josh for understanding the situation and understanding the times are over. The Ross thing, probably best left to bed.
There's parts falling on the floor.
That's the extent of what's on the board. So this is a fuzz pedal. It's actually a really tiny little circuit.
Yeah, fuzzes aren't complicated. I've built pedals, but they're from kits. I'm not like, don't know the technical specifications and whatever. I know how to take a part and put it in a part. But I built a few fuzz pedals and they're not complicated.
So the enclosure.
Custom enclosure, probably more expensive than a normal enclosure.
This part of the circuit board actually broke off during disassembly.
Broke it.
That's a me problem.
Okay. At least he knows.
Then you've got the actual circuit.
At least he knows. So I respect this guy for asking questions. That's fine. Please, always ask questions. But it just comes very amateurish. Like he almost knows nothing about business, pedal building. Gonna guess he's never built a pedal. I've built several. Oh, I should show them. I should show you them. See, I got this OCD clone, rat clone, king cat. Call this my rainbow muff. Dark glass tone capsule in a pedal. Orange rock reverb preamp in a pedal. Diesel VH4 preamp. Friggin' awesome preamp. So anyway, I don't know a thing or two, but I know a thing or two, all right? That's all I'm trying to say. I don't know everything, but I know a thing or two.
3 knobs plus the one making this video.
He's not a bad guy. He's a little, you know, he's self-aware. I think he understands this isn't his area, and he's just asking questions.
Screws and washers and
I
stuff.
appreciate his humor. But let me say this. A Morning Glory has been $199 for 15 years. Show me any other product besides the Costco hot dog value menu item that has stayed the same price without adjusting for inflation.
That's a good point. $200 is a bit much for a distortion pedal. Call me old-fashioned. But hey, if you're willing to pay it. And people really do like that pedal. And again, small builder in America, hiring Americans with as many American parts as you can. So high quality parts, and these are things you're gonna have to pay for, right? You get what you pay for. You buy a Behringer, plastic, who knows it's gonna last. EHX pedals are great, a little on the cheaper side, but components are a little bit cheaper. I got an EHX Big Muff Deluxe. Doesn't always work right. One of the foot switches is a little wonky. Don't have a problem with literally any other pedals. But you get what you pay for.
And I want to say, I don't think he's being malicious. I think he's asking honest questions. And I want to be sure that I don't like vomit all of that frustration on this video.
I don't feel like he's being malicious, but again, he's just comes across as super ignorant. If you don't have anything smart to say, don't say it. Even a fool appears wise if he keeps his mouth shut.
For a total price that this was to you or I or Jason, who actually bought me this pedal.
I'm going to send you a new one. Throw that one in the garbage. I'll eat the cost. I'll work it into my average cost of all pedals sold.
He's more bothered than he's trying to let on. Yeah, he's trying to make jokes and everything, but there's just this tinge of like bitterness underneath.
So you can see from the Notaclon thing that they're able to put these things to the market for way above their actual cost price, because that presumably has no assembly costs like this does.
No, man. The Notaclon has no dealer margin. Local shops that carry our pedals, they have to make money. My typical margin is 35 to 50% off. Every product you buy from a store is more expensive than it would be if the person sold it directly to you. But if they sold it directly to you, there's some massive problems. You would probably never hear of us. Business to business model is the core and the heart of the pedal industry.
I think that's a good point. Kind of explains why he doesn't do direct. And I think it's, makes sense. You want to stay on everyone's radar, right? Where is everyone going? Everyone's going to Sweetwater, Guitar Center, blah, 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 blah. So you want Sweetwater, Guitar Center, Sam Ash, rest in peace, to stock your pedals. They go on your website. They're going there anyway. Hopefully they see your pedal. There's some sale. They're pushing it, right? You want to go where the people are. Makes sense. And that's a big expense. That's a big expense to do that. You're getting 2/3 for your pedal.
Assembling this thing probably takes about the same amount of time as assembling it, right? So
Did he just say disassembling takes as long as assembling?
assembling this thing probably takes about the same amount of time as assembling it, right?
That's wild. That is a wild statement. I don't know how you could ever come to that conclusion.
Because these are generally not totally original circuits. Now, they're not hand wired like the original ones would have been.
The hand wiring thing is so stupid to me. It's so stupid to me. I don't know why that's seen as superior. I don't know why that's seen as like better. You're literally just making a connection. You're literally just making an electrical connection. I don't know if the idea is that a person is gonna just do a better job than a machine. And I mean, maybe that's true, but who knows? There could be like a vast inconsistency in your wiring because you have like three soldering guys. And one of them's good, one of them is mediocre, and one of them sucks, right? If anything, the human element only adds more variables than a machine, and there's really nothing wrong with SMDs or like surface mount. This computer that I'm recording this video on and watching this video, that's all surface mount. Literally every electronic you use except for pedals is surface mount, and there's no problem with them. Again, it's this whole like hand wiring through hole thing. It's never made any sense to me. Like, it's physics, right? It's physics. These components do something. They're designed to manipulate, I don't know, electronics, signals, electricity, whatever, in a certain way. That's all just physics, and they're just realizing these physical principles. So how you achieve that? I mean, the only real difference is going to be quality, right? Quality in components and quality in craftsmanship. And I don't necessarily think that a person is going to be better than a machine when it comes to soldering. Because like I said, we have so many things that we use every day that are machine soldered, and it's not a problem. Your phone, machine soldered. No one's hand wiring that.
See, at this point now, we know that they were kind of a flop.
It's more Ross pedals than ever sold across 4 eras.
That's interesting. And it makes me wonder why Josh chose to revive this brand. So he says 8,000 pedals is more than Ross ever sold. So I don't know, man. I got to question the business acumen there a little bit, because there was never a demand for these pedals is what I'm hearing. And then he chose to revive them. There was a spike of interest. Who knows why? Speculators, collectors, people who are generally interested in them. I think the first time I heard about Ross was when he brought them back. Like, I've never heard anyone bring up Ross. I've never heard anyone talk about them. I've never seen a Ross pedal in the wild. So, yeah, I don't know. It seems like a pet project of his, almost. Interesting. Or, I don't know, maybe he was so enamored with the brand that he made the decision, wasn't thinking with his business sense enough, or he thought that, like, JHS could... It seems like it was a brand he liked, and he thought using JHS clout, they could, like, bring it back and make it into something more desirable than it was. I've never played him. He says the pedals are good. I take his word for it. And he seems like he wanted to kind of evangelize that a bit, like, get that out there. Get more people to understand that Ross pedals are good. Again, demand's not there. People don't care. People don't care. They don't care. It doesn't matter how good your product is. People don't want it. They don't want it.
So it is a flop, but also I'm still proud of it. Hand-wired versus surface mount, it's an exhausting argument that goes nowhere. These are made better than any Ross pedal ever made.
I would hope so, because technology has improved. Manufacturing process has improved. I would hope so.
Secondly, these are just clones. There's not really any R&D. The R&D work on exacting a clone is insanely difficult. The Bonsai, Packrat, Muffaletta, the amount of effort cloning those.
That might be a little different, because you're talking a 5-in-1, 6-in-1, was it 8-in-1? 8-in-1 pedal? Yeah, that's going to be a lot.
There's a huge misnomer that research and development, R&D, doesn't apply to cloning.
That's not a misnomer. But continue. Misconception. Come on, Josh, learn your words.
You have to lay out the PCB, the mechanical of the case. You have to test it. You have to make sure it's viable for all power supplies, all marketplaces. You have to make sure your part supplies are there, your bill of materials. You have to be a good engineer to clone something.
Yeah, and to his point, you can't just... It's basically repeating what he's saying, but you can't just take these things, throw them all together, and then throw it in a box and sell it, and then, like, you're done. Like, there's a process to doing this. You know, I don't even know if he will, but, like, launching a product is super expensive. Like, just from like the marketing and all the coordination and, like, just, yeah, wild.
Thirdly, wherever we're at, the Ross pedals are not exact clones. They are improvements. The worst pedal builder making the worst clone you've ever seen, that's exactly part for part something else, has R&D.
They would have to, because they would have to get their own circuit. They would have to get their own, they have to source their own parts. They would have to get their own enclosure. Like, there's some on R&D. Like, I know a pedal builder, one man, he's retired now, but one man operation. He basically, his casual conversation told me, like, if he wanted to build a new chorus, it would probably cost him like 20 grand in R&D. It's just stuff that you got to do.
I tend to think that a lot of these things are somewhat
I
overpriced.
love his honesty. He thinks they're overpriced.
But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think.
So it's pretty clear he's never built pedals, he's never been there, but he's like taking it apart and trying to make all these assumptions. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to me. Like, build one pedal before you try to even understand, like, what goes into it.
They're blowing them out at $79. I can't imagine, like, that must be building in like a huge marketing budget and all these sorts of things and making the documentary. I think that's how you get to the cost price of $70.
The documentary has nothing to do with the cost of the pedals.
Oh, that really got Josh. That really irked him.
It's a cost of doing business. It's a general marketing expense.
To be fair, your marketing budget is probably built into the price of your pedals.
You're building in some R&D, but you know, that's a pedal that existed before.
Cars have existed before. You want to build a car, just copy the car. It's free. I mean, it's just the ignorance on display here is just wild. Like, let's take any product, all right? Any product that you have to manufacture. Let's say I want to sell googly-eyed rocks. I go to some stand and I say, this is a good googly-eyed rock. I want to copy this, sell my own. Okay. So what do I got to do? I got to go find rocks, right? I go find rocks. I got to find the right glue. I got to find a good pair of googly eyes. I got to find a bunch of crap to glue to the rock to make it look like more anthropomorphic. I gotta assemble them all. Nothing's that easy. Like, this is such a reductive argument where, oh, this is just this, so it must be easy. Ignoring a lot of steps here.
How much does it, like a little circuit board like this, cost to make? Can't be loads of money, can it? Let me know in the comments.
Okay, so
maybe not once you have the thing planned. Once the thing is developed, finalized, and released, sure, the cost per unit is probably not a lot, but like designing it, making it, engineering it, like, it's expensive.
2.6 million in PCBs alone, 2023. Cost of goods sold. That's every part I bought in 23 cases, the whole thing. I spent about $5 million. 2023, my net profit was 5%.
Okay, $5 million is his sales. All right, so that's 5 million times 5%. So I'm assuming by profit he means like profit to him. So 5% of $500 million. $500 million. If only, right? If only, right, Josh? If only. 5% of $5 million is $250,000. So if we can assume this is what Josh is paying himself, it's probably less than that. Like, it's probably actually less than that. Assume that's what he's paying himself. That seems fair. I mean, he runs a small business, and if he's making like $250,000 a year, I'm sure he's built this thing from the ground up. He's devoted probably a lot more time, energy, and effort than you and I devote on our day jobs, and he's made a successful, profitable business. If he's making $250,000 a year, like, that's kind of actually low, if I would think, I mean, you got contractors making this much, probably even more than that. You got plumbers who probably make this much. This is fine. We'll see what else he has to say, but I have some more thoughts.
Anyone with any business knowledge can take those numbers and go, oh, they're paying living wage to employees and they're getting taxed to death.
Yeah, didn't even talk about taxes, but they're there. They're there.
Just to break down some Legends of Fuzz math, because he's asking for it. You didn't mention the badge on the front. That badge costs $8. It's custom made in America.
Graphics. Didn't even think about graphics. I didn't think about graphics until now.
That crimson that you took apart, the enclosure alone, badge, case, paint, $16. The crimson bomb that you held in your hand, it's almost $40. Plus $20 average net labor. You're almost at $60. And then that doesn't count any of the things I mentioned, like healthcare, insurance, taxes, buying a program for your HR department. None of that. Average net sales across the Legends of Fuzz, because we're business to business, $110 per unit. I'm not making much money on those.
So he's telling us per unit, but I mean, he already told us how much overall. If he's making 110, but then minus 50, minus 16. I mean, there's just not a lot of meat on the bone, and that's how it works. That's how manufacturing works. I know this because I took one manufacturing class in college. Basically, an expert.
Glad you did the video. It gave me this opportunity to process some of this.
He seems a little more calm at the end. I will say that. I think he came in a little spicy, but I think it truly was cathartic to him.
This was fun. I got spicy, but I did it because I care. I think you're a great player, and I'm sorry that you broke your pedal. We do not recommend disassembling. You did void the warranty, but because I'm Josh and I'm going to bypass and forgive your transgression and take care of that for you. All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
What's up, everyone? This is Jojo from the future, and I noticed this comment from Josh during my initial reaction. It stuck out to me as a little weird, but I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt, like he was just trying to be funny. But I'm watching it again, and it sticks out even more, and it seems a little weird. I'm not saying it's a mask-off moment or anything, but he's being very calm and collected and cordial this whole video, but right at the end, he's allowing himself to cut loose a little bit and be a little bit smug. I'm sure he feels like he won this argument, like he won this debate, and he's allowing himself to kind of just revel in that victory a little bit. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong or anything for wanting to gloat, but hey, he's human. Just wanted to point this out. I really shouldn't have let a line like this slide. And I guess I should point out really quick that this guy who made the video, John Nathan Cordy. What's up with like music YouTubers just using their name? I'm trying to do something different here. Good going on, man.
Well, isn't that special?
Whatever. He did a follow-up video, and I'm not gonna watch it. This video is probably already gonna be too long, but he says here, I owe JHS an apology. They're not ripping us off. I don't know what made this change. I'm not gonna watch the video. Heel turn is interesting, but I mean, good on him for asking the questions, and good on him for admitting that he's wrong. Should we all be so humble? Anyway, I figure I'd give credit where credit is due. So that's my take on Josh's take on John's take on if JHS is ripping you off or not. I saw the video. I do not think JHS is ripping you off. I still truly believe things are worth what you pay for them, especially luxury items like guitar pedals. Guitar pedals are not a necessity. They are a luxury item, and you're not really deprived of luxury items. Like, you can't really be deprived of luxury. I mean, I guess you can, but it's not like he's withholding anything. It's not like you don't have the opportunity to go out and buy a cheaper pedal from a different manufacturer who's not building American, not hiring American. There's so much out there. You don't have to buy JHS. If you don't want to buy JHS, don't buy JHS. That all aside, I don't think the numbers make sense to support the idea that JHS is ripping off. What do you think? Do you think JHS is ripping you off? Do you think their pedals are fair? Let me know in the comments. What do you think a fair price for a pedal? What do you think JHS should be charging for pedals if you do think they're ripping you off? I'm very curious. And why? So let me know. So anyway, that's all I got for today. That's my reaction. If you like it, please like and subscribe. If you don't, that would be so cool if you liked and subscribe anyway. But I appreciate you watching to the end. I appreciate your time. I'll be back with more content like this and also very different content. Peace.